Well, he was nicknamed Aussie Tom after his deeds in Australia last autumn carnival. There had been some question whether he'd be able to get back because of coronavirus, but he is back and he's already riding plenty of winners, and it's great to catch up with Tom this morning. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Morning. Yeah, very good, thanks. How are you?
Very well indeed. Have you settled in well to Australian life? You certainly haven't taken long to get back into the swing as far as riding winners is concerned.
Yeah. Obviously, been a bit bizarre, to be honest, coming back down and sort of living almost as if sort of pre-COVID happenings going on. But like, it's great, obviously, and good to be back. And a bit of a surprise that I managed to get here.
Tell us about that, because when you left home, we've been watching with great sadness what is happening in Europe and the rest of the world, because touch wood, Australia has been currently relatively unaffected because we are living quite well, really, compared to the other parts of the world. So what was the major difference that you noticed after you'd come out of your quarantine period back home? What was your life like compared to what it is like over here?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, England's in lockdown, and it has been pretty much since I got home last year. Well, since sort of 6 weeks before I got home last year, which is sort of last March. I mean, yeah, nothing's going on really. You know, for us, the year was wake up, go racing, go home, and that was it. But out here, you know, coming out of quarantine and walking out into the city, just seemed all pretty alien, not a mask in sight, and everyone walking around freely, and shops open, and you know, it's absolutely brilliant. But it was pretty strange to see it there.
How did you handle the quarantine period? Because we had some great social media vision of you riding the bike and continuing your fitness, because you're known as a bit of a fitness fanatic. So how tough was that 2-week period?
Yeah, honestly, it was actually all right. I wouldn't have minded a window that opened, but the actual quarantine itself was okay. It was, you know, was what it was, and I had a pretty good target for when I got out. So yeah, like I actually found it pretty comfortable.
Well, it's good to see. Adeeb, 12 months on, how do you compare him to what he was able to achieve remarkably last autumn carnival? Do you think he's going just as well?
Yeah, I mean, from what he did at the back end in England, you'd have to say he was an improved horse at the end of the year than he was at the start of the year. So, look, it's tough to come to the other side of the world again and try and sort of repeat what he did. But yeah, it's a big move from obviously William Haggis and Sheikh Ahmed supporting it, and fingers crossed it can all go to plan again.
Have you been doing any work with him while he's been here in Australia?
Yeah, I jumped on him this morning quickly, and he had a nice blowout, and he feels great. You know, he takes it all in his stride well, and just I guess it's hard to know until race day as to whether he's in sort of complete tip-top condition, because, you know, as we know, horses can't show you everything until they get to the races sometimes.
He must be a remarkable galloper in the fact that he just handles the travelling with aplomb, and he races just as well, maybe even better over here than what he has been able to produce back home. Yeah,
I mean, the Champion Stakes back home sort of this year was, you know, well, undeniably sort of one of the biggest performances of the season, taking out the horses that he did, in the fashion that he did. But yeah, as you say, just the fact the way he travels, like he gets off the plane and sort of settles straight into his routine and eats and sleeps and makes life pretty easy.
He's always been a great galloper, but do you think that autumn campaign last year actually brought him on, took him to a new level?
Oh, without doubt, yeah. You know, he went from being sort of labelled as a horse that couldn't quite win a Group 1, but was sort of a classy horse, to a horse that's now, you know, he won sort of 2 major Group 1s in Australia, and then went home and won one of the sort of biggest Group 1s of the season in England. So, you know, it's changed his profile completely, and, you know, you'd have to say probably changed him as a horse a little bit as well.
And is he better than just a wet tracker, or is he a horse that it just is so much more adept on the wet tracks?
He obviously absolutely loves wet tracks, but at the same time, I mean, I'd be pretty adamant that the Ranvit Stakes last year wasn't what the ground said, and it was probably a bit quicker. It's probably good ground, I thought personally. I mean, obviously, the way we grade English tracks is different to Australia, but I mean, like, I'd hold firm that he won that day on good ground. So for a horse to be able to win a Group 1 on good ground against what's now a very elegant 7-time Group 1 winner, it probably it tells the tale of a horse that can sort of not just rely on one type of track.
Did you follow Very Elegant's career after those amazing battles that you had, culminating with a win in the Caulfield Cup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously from sort of leaving Australia, like, I always keep a close eye on what's going on, and she's an exceptional mare, what she's achieved, and not many horses can rack up that many Group 1s, and I've no doubt there'll be a good bit of competition going into sort of the next several weeks with her.
And it looks like you're both going to get the conditions they revel in, because the forecast for Sydney this week is looking quite wet indeed. So what are you making of the return bout with Very Elegant and the Ranvit first up on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the Ranvit is and was last year. Ultimately it was aimed as his prep run for the Queen Elizabeth, and he won, obviously. So now there's a lot of pressure on this year, but I think being realistic, we probably have to keep our goals the same in the fact that the Ranvit is his first run off the plane. It's going to be used to sort of warm him back up into things, and obviously, hopefully, he's good enough, and we get the track we want, and he can win. But D-Day as such is still the Queen Elizabeth this year. I know there's plenty of expectation and whatnot, but I think it'd be silly to stray away from what was what our main goal was last year to then change it this year.
And I suppose there were a couple of dashing rides on him last year that culminated with those two great Group 1 victories. Have you got any preconceived thoughts heading into Saturday?
No, I mean, honestly, the Ranvit was completely sort of off cue. The plan wasn't to make the running; it was just kind of the way the early race unfolded, and I'll be doing similar again, just seeing how everything falls and riding accordingly. I don't think he's not a one-dimensional horse. He doesn't have to be anywhere in particular in the field. So I'll be keeping a fairly open mind and hoping we draw a nice gate.
What's your favourite track to ride at in Sydney?
I'm a big fan of Ramwick. There's loads of time, nice long straight, and you've got that bit of a climb that sorts the horses out at the sort of just past the 400. So it always tends to ride like one of the fairest tracks.
It's been a big 12 months for yourself as well. Obviously, you're engaged now to Holly Doyle, and I believe Holly came out and said it was a very romantic proposal as well.
Yeah, no, it's a massive year, and nice to do that. Sadly, she couldn't come to Australia as well this year, but hopefully it'll be something she can do in the future.
Well, she said I think she wants to come out and ride in the Melbourne Cup, so it'd be great to have both of you out here. And the way Holly has been riding over in the UK has been almost replicated by Jamie Carr down here in Melbourne and Rachel King in New South Wales as well. How do you see how Rachel's been riding and the depth of the New South Wales jockeys, which we know are so strong every year?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, it's well renowned that Australia has some sort of world class jockeys, or a lot of world class jockeys, and I think times have changed. It's not, it's no longer sort of female jockeys and male jockeys. It's just jockeys now, and it's great to see all over the world that people are sort of breaking through where before it might have been pretty tough. But there's no limit to what can happen. Jamie Carr looks like she's sort of pretty sure on to almost nailing the City Championship down in Melbourne, and there's no reason why sort of Holly would be a contender for champion jockey this year at home.
Absolutely. Have you picked up a ride in the slipper on Saturday?
I have. I'm riding Captivant. Obviously, he's got some pretty nice credentials. He's off the back of a real good run at Ranwick the other day. And, he's a horse that may be searching for another furlong if the race were to fall to plan and fall into his lap. He's a horse with loads of ability and really looking forward to get the leg up.
Well, you've been riding very well indeed. Toffee Tongue was a tough win in the Sky High on Saturday.
Yeah, it was great to get her up. It was actually my first winner for Chris Waller, so really pleased to get the job done on her. I actually didn't think I'd won mine, so it was a bit of a surprise. But hopefully a few more winners like that to come.
Are you a big form student? Is it because you've got almost a full book at Hawkesbury today, and then tomorrow as well? You're riding most days. How do you keep up with the local form?
Honestly, I'd be pretty laid back on the form front. I think one of the things I've learned from chopping and changing between places is I personally actually react, and I feel like I ride better to obviously having a sort of basic depth of knowledge of what's going on. But I think it's very easy to get your judgment clouded by speed maps and things of the sort. So I try to stay fairly open and have the basics there, and then go off field and take the rest as it comes.
Well, we are very lucky to have you back out here in Australia and Sydney for the Autumn Carnival. Can't wait to see the Star of D back in action, especially the clash with Very Elegant on Saturday. Best of luck, including in the slipper, Tom.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Thanks for having me on.
Aussie Tom, as he was...